America that we live in. And I still think about my grandfather who was dirt poor and lived in Philadelphia and worked 2 jobs and made his way through medical school. I mean, when you're talking, I think about my immigrant family and how I stand on their shoulders. My question to you is, when you win the Republican nomination and you were on the stage with Hillary Clinton and you're debating her, how do you articulate the exceptionalism of America?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I think that hopefully we have a couple problems. The first is I actually think that there are people in the country that doubt that we're really that unique. The president is flat out. I mean, he'll say he believes America is exceptional. That's what he says, but he's also argued that we believe we're exceptional the way the French believe they're exceptional, the Belgians think they're exceptional, and other nations do. And it's not that we're exceptional because God loves us more. It's not that we're exceptional because America is genetically superior to other nations. What makes us exceptional, meaning different from the history of the world, is that this is one of the few of only countries in human history where you start out doesn't determine where you wind up. Look, I invite you, many of you have traveled around the world, you'll see it. The people who are in charge of those countries are the grandchildren of the people who ran it. The richest families in those countries are the great-grandchildren of the richest families 200 years ago. It's the same people over and over again. And most of the nations in all of human history, your future was determined by where you came from. It didn't matter how talented you were, how hard you worked, how big your dreams. Your future was decided by where you started out, and only certain people were allowed to get ahead unless they got very lucky. And that's why people came here. Because they heard there was this place where it didn't matter. You were able to go as far as you wanted to go. Where did that come from? It actually started with the Declaration of Independence that said something that we take for granted because we've lived here our whole lives. But it said that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. The idea that your rights come from God, not from the king, not from the government, not from the law, that was a revolutionary idea that even to this day is not shared in most countries. So when you believe that every single person is born with the right to go as far as their talent and their work will take them, you have to design an economic system that reflects that. And that's why we adopted free enterprise. You have to adopt a political system that reflects that, and that's why we have a republic. That's what makes us exceptional. And the other thing that makes us exceptional is how we've used our power. Most of the nations in human history that reached the point we reached, which is the most powerful nation on earth, used it to oppress people, to conquer them, to take their lands. America has repeatedly sent its young men and women off to die on foreign battlefields for other people's liberties. And then we turn the country over to them and leave. We had a brutal, costly war with Germany and Japan. And yet, less than 15 years later, both countries were well on their way to recovery. Today, both are 2 of the largest economies in the world and 2 of our strongest allies on the planet. What other nation does that? Even to this day, anytime there's an earthquake somewhere in the world, it's American charities first on the scene. I was in the Philippines 2 years ago, and I went to the area that had been impacted by the typhoon, and more than one person told me that the morning after that, 2 days after that typhoon hit, as they were hungry and desperate, they saw an American aircraft carrier over the horizon. And what they said to themselves is, finally, someone's here to help. They understood that that American aircraft carrier